He's so rich, right?
See the cameras.
Okay.
Remind me to tell him to stay off our noses and stuff. Like, he likes to zoom in sometimes.
Good.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the June 8th, 2021 meeting of the Board of Trustees for the School Town of Speedway. We're working from a 16-item agenda, and I'd like to note right now that item number 9 has been changed to be a discussion of a possible supplemental program with the CIESC. I don't believe there are any other changes to the agenda. The first item on the agenda is to approve minutes from our 2 meetings of May 11th, 2021. Is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the minutes of May 11th, 2021.
I'll second that.
Luke, seconded by Luke. Is there any discussion? Okay, in the motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 11th, 2021, all those in favor, please signify with the raised hand. And that's 5, so it passes unanimously.
We have 4 sheets to sign.
And we have 4 sheets to sign. Okay.
I'll start down there and we'll just pause for a second on that.
Thank you.
Both sets are signed, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The second item on the agenda is to have a public hearing regarding a proposed addendum to the contract for the superintendent. And I will now open a public hearing. And as there are no members of the public in attendance, we will close the public hearing. Is there a motion from the board concerning the addendum to the contract for the superintendent?
I'll make a motion to approve the addendum to the superintendent's contract.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And the motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion to approve the addendum? Hearing and seeing none. Would all those in favor of the approval of the addendum please signify with raised hand? And that's unanimous as well. Do we need to sign now or later?
Later.
All right. Thank you very much. The third item on the agenda this evening is to present initial plans for pandemic relief funds.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. It's a pleasure to talk about relief plans for the next two items. The first thing I'm going to talk about is our relief plans that we've been looking at for the last few months on this. And as we go forward on the reentry plans for that, they've been on our website since last year, since we had to do the reentry. So with most of with most of the issues that are coming through at this point in time, we're still gathering new information each and every day. And with saying that, it's still fluid. We're receiving new information as of today. Dr. Kane, Marion County Health public health departments coming out with new information that say what we need to do or not. But I'm very proud to say that we have a working copy here that we're going to go ahead and present out to the community. It's updated in June, and Ms. McIntosh has worked with the principals and whatnot. And we got to the new information today that we're going to continue to do 3 foot with mask as of right now. I think that's the big question everybody has. We do know and understand that there's other corporations around us doing some different things, but most of them are outside of Marion County. So we're going to sit tight right now and follow the direction of the medical staff for this. Very proud of our team, that what we've accomplished this last year. Even though it wasn't perfect, we do believe that once we got the information out and we held true to that information and held true to what our expectations were, our staff, our principals, our administration, our teachers, our support staff, parents, kids, students, they did tremendous work. And being in the high school for the last year, watching the kids with the mask, I think the kids, they adapted to whatever we asked them to do. I'm very proud of that. In the class of 21, my hat's off to you on top of all the other things that we do and say, but I really want to give a little credit to them because they went through so much this last year. So the reentry plans, it's going to be fluid. We're going to come back in July. We'll update these and hopefully give the parents and community another month notice here on if anything changes. But right now, the direction's been pretty solid of moving forward with loosening up some of these regulations, then tighten them down. So that's where we're at right now. So that is our presentation of reentry plans. They'll be up on our website too.
Thank you. And concerning the pandemic relief fund?
Yes, and those two agenda items, I know they're right there together, but that ties into, before we can move forward, and what I wanted to talk about is, with the funds, is that the plans need to be a criteria to move forward with the money that we get. So, again, very happy about where we're going with our funds that tie into our plans. The gear grant, $235,000, our ESSER 2 money, 1.3 million, and ESSER 3, 3.0. So we have, roughly almost $4 million that we're getting of relief money that's going to tie in to our plans, that tie into our safety of the students. This is a first rough draft. It's a baseline that what we have. As you can see, if you see all relief funds together, from the information that we have right now, where we can spend it, we're looking at people and staffing well over 50%, and right now we have it marked down at 65% of that money going to people. And the one thing that we keep saying over and over again is that the money needs to go to where the kids are, to where the students are. So the money, as you see through all these plans, it's really, it gets down to, it's in the classroom, it's one-on-one, where can our people help our kids? Then after the staffing, you can see the highest is with technology, because the world we live in right now is that we need to make sure that we're up to speed with others. And now we have Chromebooks across the board. We have hotspots, we have carts, we have chargers, we have cases. We have it all, and we've learned how to get to that in the last year, but we can use this money to continue that. Not only that, just Promethean boards and the technology we use every day for the teachers. Again, it's the teacher and the student where that's going. We also have 15% going to facilities that we're going to clean up our air control, our air quality, with our maintenance, safety, and then our SEL and behavioral. All these tie together to where can we help the kid be successful, the student be successful. And I'm very proud where we're at right now. But please know again that this is just a baseline, more details to come, because the ESSER 3 grant has to expire by 2024. So we have 3 years of planning this out to make sure that what we're doing is good for our students and our staff and our community. So that is our relief fund planning, tied in with our plans of bringing students back for next year in-person instruction. So any questions on either of those?
So let's take questions and discussion on the pandemic relief plans first, and then we'll open the reentry question. One of the things, as a parent of a student who was taking things some online this past year, I know that we used laptop cameras to do a lot of the video recording, and I will note that personally, it could be my age and my need for glasses, but I found it difficult to read certain subjects on the board when recorded from a laptop camera because the focal length wasn't very good. I hope we can invest some of our funds in improving cameras for particularly sciences and maths, where they're writing a lot of equations on the board and it's difficult to read. I think that we did a very nice job of providing an education to our students through the technology we had available. And I very much appreciated our efforts.
Mr. President, we did have, that's the way we started, and we got better with some of the cameras that we were able to purchase with some of these funds. Still got a ways to go, but we did get some of those better, and it's really hard, like you say, to see on a board behind you those, but our teachers were learning how to use those along the way also, not only instruct, learn how to use the technology, and things got better as the year went on.
Yes.
Well, I would imagine that one of the hard things is, the hope is that we're moving forward without a need for, a lot of that type of technology, but yet, and so you don't want to earmark too many dollars to that. However, the reality that, we now know of how quickly we can swing into that mode, it's kind of an interesting place to be, I think.
Is there any further discussion on the use of the pandemic relief funds at this time?
I think the only other thing would be that it just is going to continue to be updated and change and evolve. And while there are timelines and restrictions, those are all such that we still do have the flexibility to, my understanding, right, to kind of keep having our plans evolve.
That's exactly right, and we are just now going through different meetings with the ISBO, and we're talking about ERB and what are we legally allowed to do. So there's a lot of this that we're just sitting tight for right now to make sure that we're doing the right steps to spend it. A lot of corporations are jumping out there quick, and we're more of I'd rather slow down a little bit, pump the brakes, and make sure we're doing it the right way. So good point. We do have time to change and modify.
Anything further on that discussion? Okay, then let's open discussion on the agenda item 4, which was the reentry plan to return to instruction this fall, and the advice that we get from Marion County Public Health Department. Is there any commentary or discussion on this?
I'll just say I'm grateful for the patience and the flexibility shown by not only our staff, but the parents involved to try to make this as successful as we could this year. Super challenging for everybody involved, but I appreciate everybody's patience and their flexibility.
Okay, then we will move on to the 5th agenda item, which is the high ability plan.
Good evening, board members. I am responsible for coordinating an annual broad-based planning committee is the technical term, but it's really just a gathering of various stakeholders for our high ability or gifted students in our district. So we meet in May of each year after our annual identification period has completed. That team is made up of teachers, some parents, some students, and we go through our high ability plan and talk about if there are any suggestions and changes that need to occur to make sure that our plan reflects the services and also the process we use to identify students in our district. We had our annual meeting in May, and at this point, our plan has become one where we're looking at routine changes, having some discussion. But I thought perhaps a notable one to bring to your attention, if you haven't seen already, was under program goals. It was probably the most significant change. Again, not a huge one, but it came to our attention in that broad-based planning committee that at our secondary level, particularly at the high school, the students who are identified as gifted, those names are provided to school counselors, but that information wasn't always trickling to the teachers and being provided to teachers. So teachers who are a part of the broad-based planning committee shared that they would love to have a more accessible way to know who their gifted students are in their classrooms. And something, as we talked about that further, we realized that gap was sometimes occurring at the semester change as teachers get new students second semester. So I'm going to work with our high school administration and make sure we have a more accessible format to make sure that our teachers know who the gifted students are in their classroom. And we'll examine that at all levels, but with a particular focus at the secondary, since that's where the problem was shared.
I have a question about that, I guess. What is the benefit and what is the detriment of teachers having that information? And do we have some sort of training or something, or is there some sort of process by which teachers understand both of those?
Really good question. So first, I think benefit and downfall, and a benefit is that if teachers know who their identified gifted students are, I should say, and I feel like our teachers have a really great grasp of their students' performance levels, but to know that a child has tested in that 96th or above percentile and really demonstrated that gifted ability helps that teacher understand a child even further and know that perhaps they could even be stretched further and that they may be thinking different cognitively than just a student who tests above average. So there is a difference, though we have a lot of high-performing students in Speedway. A small percentage are gifted, and I think that just helps a teacher to know their student at any level, and high ability scores are no different. A downfall, I guess there would always be potential that a person or an educator could only provide certain opportunities for gifted students, but I really believe that one thing that Speedway Schools does really well is provide that open access to all students and doesn't limit children just because they don't have that gifted qualification. So I don't worry about that so much with us. Training, so at the secondary level, the AP training that our teachers get and go through pretty extensive AP training, those that teach those classes over the summer, is really high quality. There are different high ability training opportunities that come about each year, and that varies some from year to year. So I keep my eye on those and share those out with principals, and sometimes teachers initiate that as well. We've had a teacher at the junior high that spotted a training and asked to go, and we supported that with our high ability grant. Our elementary high ability teacher who goes around and does some pull-out extension groups with our identified gifted students, goes to annual training, a variety, but always the annual gifted conference, and always brings things back from that. And on also an intention for this coming year is at the elementary level, since our services are mainly classroom-based because of our neighborhood school model, it's really important that we're supporting and always improving on helping our general education teachers in the classroom have the resources and knowledge to support our elementary students. And so as we adopt new curriculums, we're examining curriculums that have extensions and appropriate opportunities for high ability students. So one thing I just talked about with elementary principals today, we're doing some work on our reading curriculum and training involving our new reading series next school year. And one of the points that we'll be discussing in our planning sessions is That curriculum we adopted has some really rich activities for high ability students and some really rich extensions, but it was a whole lot of information for all classroom teachers to absorb through this first year of implementation. So we're really going to be looking at how we can focus on helping take advantage of some of those things that are at our fingertips. But does that answer
It
questions?
does, thank you.
Okay.
Very good.
Andrea, I want to publicly thank you. In all the years that I've been involved in Speedway schools, your job has probably changed more and more added to it than any other position in our school system. And the expanse, the wideness of from top to bottom of students that you deal with and writing grants and so on. And I want to take the opportunity to publicly thank you, because our school system is very fortunate to have you and the quality of person you are doing what you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you. And I'm glad to have a mask right now because I'm blushing, and I very much share that. Ditto right back to you, and I'm very happy to be here. So thank you.
Are there any further questions for Ms. McIntosh? Is there a motion from the board concerning the high ability plan for 21-22 for the School Town of Speedway? Yes, Laura?
I move that we approve the high ability plan.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion on the issue? Okay, well then, all in favor, please signify. It passes unanimously. The sixth item on the agenda this evening is to approve the publication of the 2020 annual financial report.
Thank you, Mr. President. This report is enclosed in a routine item, as this is a summary of the 2020 finances. The recommendation is to approve the publication of this included 2020 financial report as required by Indiana code.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget, the annual financial report.
Thank you, Debbie. Tom?
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion or commentary about the 2020 financial report? Hearing and seeing none, I'd ask all members that are in favor of accepting this report, please signify. And it is accepted unanimously and approved. The seventh item on the agenda this evening is to present the budget development calendar for 2022.
Mr. President, enclosed the budget 2022, and it's an outline of the capital asset plan, the adoption calendar, and the budget development calendar of 2022 moving forward. For example, the first date, Tuesday, July 13th, 2021, I'll present the capital asset plan and so forth. So it's just a presentation to the board of this is when we're doing the following items.
Let me ask the question just for my own, is it 21s or 22s?
It's next year's. So
Okay.
we're
A year
already
ahead.
6 months in the rear.
Yes,
So I plan.
this is for the January 22
Yeah,
budgeting.
so our
Yes.
team comes together in the
Thank
next
you.
3 weeks for next year planning on,
Thank you. I just wanted to verify that.
yeah. Yeah.
Are there questions about that from the board, other than mine? Okay, agenda item number 8 is to approve institutional memberships for the School Town of Speedway.
The recommendation is to continue annual institutional membership in Central Indiana Education Service Center, the CIESC, who we've worked with for many years, the consortium of the school networking, the Greater Speedway Area Chamber of Commerce, Indiana Association of College Admissions Counseling, Indiana Associations of Public School Superintendents, Indiana Association of School Business Officials, Indiana Cooperative Library Service Authority, Indiana National School Boards Association, Indiana Urban Schools Association, Indiana Association of Small Rural Schools, South Central Study Council, and the Alliance for Marion County Children. I've read that off 2 years now, and I couldn't be more grateful being a part of every one of those groups. It's different language, different people, different experiences and knowledge that we go to a lot of meetings, but we are able to take that information and being Speedway and where we're located, we have a great reach of gaining information from a lot of people. So my recommendation is to approve the following.
Yes,
I move that we approve the institutional memberships as presented.
thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you, Laura. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the institutional memberships. Is there discussion? Okay, then would all board members in favor please signify? And that passes unanimously. The 9th agenda item is a discussion of possible supplemental programs through CIESC for founding members, I believe.
Starting in January of 2021, Mr. Disney and myself and Ms. McIntosh, we receive numerous phone calls every day about asking what we're doing and this, that, and the other of this program or not. We are, and mainly on virtual learning. There's a lot of groups out there, and there's a lot of good programs for people to join. But for right now, where we're at this present time, this is the Central Indiana Educational Service Center. That's a CIESC. They presented an idea to the members, and I'd like to share some of that information with you as an option. And that option is they would allow our students to attend one of their full-time virtual supplemental programs, so where a student would have the option to do that. And what that means is they would sign up for CIESC, the virtual school, instead of attending Speedway High School. And I think that's going to be the discussion to talk about now. The ADM part of that from the students is, if, for example, if we were to receive $7,000, we would only have to give up $2,000 for them to move forward to go do that option. On one hand, it's an idea it gives a student opportunity. On the other hand, it's something that we haven't gone down this road before, so I think it deserves some discussion. And I do believe that there's time here still that we need to gather more information before we make any decision on such a thing like this. So I wanted to bring it to your attention. I wanted to have a discussion about it, and so I'm open for that.
So the students who opted that, let's say they were a high school senior, they would then get a Speedway High School diploma?
Well, they would.
Yeah, I
And
think that, Tom, go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I see this as, warranting that further discussion and being something that is perhaps a tool in the arsenal of how do we get a particular kid through a situation, and whether that's a COVID-related type of situation, whether that's something else. But it seems to me that there's a lot that would go into place around that. Like, what are the qualifications? Who can do this? Who on our campus is overseeing that or not? And if not, then that's something different than if so. And, just a number of things that as we, that I think would need to be decided and in place before, I don't think I'm not suggesting, I guess, that I'm 100% against doing this, but I'm probably 100% against doing it without those types of things being in place and figured out. And if we can come up with a system in a way that this is available under some set of criteria as needed, okay, it seems like, that makes sense. We know now it makes sense to have that sort of tool in our arsenal. But just as an across the board, we've got these several different ways that you can attend Speedway High School, one of which is not really to attend Speedway High School, seems not to be the type of thing that that Speedway schools have been about ever.
This is a program that's only used by junior high and high school students?
7 through 12.
7 through 12. And we already use them, we already use CIESC to do what I'll call credit recovery in the summertime, right?
Play-Doh
Do we
in Iowa.
use them when a student has an interest outside of the offerings that we can provide at those schools? Say if a student was interested in a different subject than we could offer, do we allow that opportunity?
Yes.
And would this preclude us to continue to do that? Or, I mean, does
That's
this
totally
agreement
separate.
stop anything? Okay.
Nope, we're members of the CIS.
So we get to keep doing what we're doing already if we were to do something like this, but this would just be an added opportunity. Are there questions and comments from the board as we think about this possible program? Okay, hearing and seeing none, then we'll move to agenda item 10, which is to approve contracts for physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, behavioral consultant, and blind low vision services for the school town of Speedway.
Mr. President, the recommendation is to approve the contracts as submitted. The contracts remain similar in the past years with consideration for the rate increases.
Is there a motion from the board concerning these contracts? Laura?
I move that we approve the contracts for physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, behavioral consultant, and the blind low vision services. A second.
A second, thank you. Is there any discussion about these contracts? Hearing none, then would all members of the board who are so inclined to approve signify? And that passes unanimously. The 11th item on the agenda this evening is to approve the 2021-2022 employment contracts for homeschool advisors, graduation coach, and nurse.
And the recommendation is to increase the annual salaries of the following positions by $2,000. And that would be school nurse Kenna Allison to $53,206, graduation coach Tyra Borum to $56,006, homeschool advisor Deborah June to $50,216, homeschool advisor Lauren Doyle to $49,000, homeschool advisor Don McGuire to $49,000, and homeschool advisor Samantha Allen to $49,000.
I'll make a motion to approve these employment contracts as presented.
Thank you, Debbie. Tom?
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion's been made and seconded to approve the 21-22 employment contracts for those positions. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify. And it passes unanimously. The 12th item on the agenda is to approve the social, emotional, behavioral mentors, English learner, family, community engagement liaison, and high school homeschool advisor positions.
And approving these three positions will enhance and improve our SEL, our social emotional learners, our EL, our English learners areas. These positions would be paid out of, like we talked about in agenda item 3 and 4, out of our relief money, our grants, and title money. The SEL, social emotional learning mentor position would provide behavioral instruction, intervention, support for our students struggling to meet classroom school-wide expectations. The EL, family community engagement liaison, would provide support and advocate for students and enhance communication between student, parent, and school staff. This position will also serve as a cultural liaison who will work to increase the competency of individual staff members and school with regard to the system's support of language learners. Another focus of this position will be helping families to enroll in federal aid programs such as TANF and SNAP, which is needed for our corporation. Finally, the high school homeschool advisor is not a new position, as we have them in our elementaries, but we could use this position in the high school to provide that behavioral instruction, intervention, support again for students that are struggling to meet classroom and school-wide expectations, and again help with our students in the high school and even secondary for TANF and SNAP. So my recommendation is that we approve these positions as presented.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Good.
Go ahead, Luke.
I move that we approve the positions as presented.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Laura. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have a question. So we have the homeschool advisors in the elementaries. We're adding this in the high school. Do we have such, who covers the junior high?
Joe Smith
Okay.
is a counselor.
Okay.
Right now, he's covering that. That's something we can come back and look now that we have the position already there. We discussed that and talked about that, but with Rick, Shane, and Joe there, we feel like we can get that covered for the amount of kids.
That makes sense.
But that's never off the table. We are full seeing how our students, our community, what we need right now. And we're really excited about these positions.
Is it? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm very excited about these new positions. I think this is going to help an awful lot more of our kids have a better experience during their time with the Speedway schools and hopefully lead to even better performance in the schools.
How do we sustain this after the, the federal money is no longer, coming in? Yeah, because it's a one and
Yeah.
done, we get it, but then, so what happens after that?
We're in a great position right now. We know we can afford this for the 3 years. And if we can move after that date and see what we need to do, we do have referendum money we can transfer out of some other places to put for this. So there is an exit plan on this, but there's also, if this is helping our students, there's something that I know this community, we want to help kids, and we can do that. It's a good question.
Any other discussion or questions? Would all those in favor of the motion to approve the positions, please signify? And that passes unanimously. The 13th agenda item this evening is to acknowledge $382,340.26 worth of grants received, which is pretty fantastic.
We'll do that.
The 14th agenda item is the personnel report.
Mr. President, we have 6 items on the personnel report for this month. We'll begin with resignations, and there are 2 teachers that are resigning and one of our secretaries. Michelle Alexander, a teacher at Allison Elementary. Lindsay Lang, who is a teacher at Wheeler Elementary. And then Kim Nyland is a secretary at Allison Elementary, have all submitted their letters of resignation. And even though we're sad to see those people leave, we're equally excited about the people that we can add to our staff at Speedway schools. One of those positions is Deanne Martin, and Deanne has taught several maternity leaves for us and comes highly recommended from our teachers and our principals at each one of the buildings that she's been in, and we're recommending her to be a teacher. Mitchell Hammersley, and Mitchell is going to be one of our elementary instructional coaches. And then Rachel Abel is a high school cheer coach. My recommendation is to accept the personnel report as presented.
Is there a motion, Tom?
I'll move that we accept the personnel report as presented.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Debbie. Is there any discussion on the personnel report? Hearing and seeing none. Would all those in favor of accepting the personnel report as submitted, please signify. And that passes unanimously. The 15th item on the agenda is to recognize any visitors and to handle any other business. As there are no visitors present, is there other business for us to consider? Hearing that there's no other business for us to consider, then we will adjourn this meeting to go and approve claims. Thank you all very much.